Hey there, I'm Laura from 5 out of 4 Patterns, and welcome to day 2 of the Camilla Cowl Sew Along and Tutorial sponsored by So English Fabrics. Now today we're going to be working on the neckline and the pleats, so let's get started. So the first thing we're going to do is make sure we've transferred all of our markings from our pattern pieces. The first one that I've already done is the cowl fold across the top of the front bodice piece, so we want to make sure that we do that. Now we need to mark the pleat lines, and I'll say one of my favorite ways to do this is with pins rather than a writing utensil. We have one other marking that we need to make on our front panel that I almost forgot about. The next thing we're going to do is mark our sleeve pattern piece. You can see there's one line on one side and 2 lines on the other. And I have remembered to cut notches out on one side, but I forgot to cut notches out on the other. So we will now be marking that one. And you'll do that on both of the sleeves. Okay. All right. Now let's move our sleeves to the side. Last but certainly not least, let's grab our back panel, or our back bodice I should say, and we're going to mark the sleeves on that as well. We've marked all of our pattern pieces. We are finally ready to get started. If you're doing the maternity version, you are going to run a basting stitch along both of the side seams of the front bodice. But if you're not doing a maternity version, I am not, we're going to skip to step 3. Now, step 3 has us finishing the back neckline. Here's what it says. Place your back neckline facing, which I have here, right sides together with the back bodice. So what I need to do is I need to mark the center of my facing piece. We need to also find the center of our back neckline. And now right sides together. And then we're going to match up these shoulder seams, I should say. Pin those in place and do the other side. Now we're going to attach the facing piece to the back bodice using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. We can use a serger or we can use a stretch stitch. The facing will stretch slightly, but be very careful to not stretch the actual neckline of the back bodice. Okay, in this step, we'll be encasing the raw edge of the facing before sewing everything in place. It's going to give the shirt a nice professional finish on the inside, which is what we're always going for, aren't we? So let's see what we need to do. I'm going to press it. We're going to wrap the facing, fold it right around the seam allowance, just like this. And I always like to press as I go, just to keep it in place. Lovely. Now I'm going to take a piece of wash away wonder tape, and I'm going to put it on the edge here. Okay, now let's take our paper off. And now we're going to fold it over again. What this does is it fully encases this entire neck area. Okay, now we're going to sew this edge down, getting as close to the edge as possible with a straight stitch, not a stretch stitch, but a straight stitch. Here we are. I've used a contrasting gray thread. I'm hoping that you can see it. I'm not a huge fan of wasting So if I use black on this peach color, then it becomes a garment that I can't wear. It's not wearable, and I don't want to waste fabric or supplies, so I try to match the threads as best I can, but I decided to go with light gray, and so I hope that you can see my stitches a little bit better. All right, so we are done with the back neckline, and it looks fabulous, and it's time to move on to the pleats. All right, we're opening up our front bodice with the right side facing up, and I'm going to roll this up just so I can get it out of the way here so I can see what I need to see. And we're going to start over here on the right. And you can see I've got all my markings here. If you're looking at this and you're looking at the tutorial at the same time, there are letters that tell you which line is what. So the bottom one is A, the third one is B, the fourth one is C, and the sixth one is D. So these two in between C and A and B and C and D don't have letters. So we're going to be folding letter to letter. That's why the letters are there. Okay, so here's what it says. On the right side of the front bodice, we're going to fold line A to meet line B. And then we're going to pin it in place. So we're gonna hold it in our hands. This is A, this is B. So we're gonna fold it to meet. Lift it up here. So we're folding it this way for A and B to meet. So they've met. And then we're going to pin this in place. And we could take out the other two pins. Okay, so there we've got it. Now let's open that up. Now we're going to fold C to meet D. Okay, so the other pin, the center pin, is the center of our fold here. You just want to make sure that that's your center. All right, and then we're going to pin that in place. Okay, and we're going to take out those other two pins. Okay, so now this is what we're left with, okay? And what it says next is on the wrong side, so let me turn this over a little bit. Push your pleats down toward the bodice. So this is the armhole, this is the top neckline, so the bodice is going this way, okay? So we're going to push them down toward the bodice like this, and it will look like they're folded like this, all right? Now I'm going to pin those in place just for a second so that we can do this again on the other side of the front bodice, okay? All right, so let's go back over to the front side. Here we are. We have A, we skip one, we have B. Right next to B is C, we skip one, and we have D. All right, so the ones that do not have letter names are the center of the fold, right? So we're going to take A, which is this first one on the bottom, and we're going to meet it, fold it to meet B, which is we're going to skip one, and it's the one after that, so it's the third one. So we're going to fold the first one from the bottom, okay, we're starting from the bottom, folding the first one to meet the third one, using the second one as the center of the fold, just to keep it all where we need to be. So A to B, and just like this, okay? Then take your pin out, and we want to pin that in place. Okay, and take the other two pins out that we don't need. Okay, now, so we're going to pick up C, and we're going to skip one and fold it to D. So C goes to D, with the middle one being the center of the fold. And then we're going to pin it in place. And put our other two pins away. Now when we open that, here's what we've got, and we're going to push on the wrong side, we're going to push those folds toward the bodice. And I'm actually going to pin in place just so you can see what it should look like. Okay, so that's what it's going to look like. See if this is helpful at all. All right, so you've got two folds, and then it's like you're folding them up from the bottom, which means the flap is pushed down on the wrong side. Now what we're going to do is we are going to baste our pleats down in the seam allowance with a straight stitch. Okay, so we're just going to do, it could be about 1/4 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch just across the pleats on either side. Okay, so here we are. You can see our pleats are on both sides, all ready to go for the next step, and we have completed day 2 of the Camilla Cowl sew along and tutorial. Join us tomorrow for day 3 when we will attach our shoulder seams and our side seams and pockets. See you tomorrow.